Well, hello scrappers. Mike here, welcome back to my channel. Once again, we've got the Mighty Mill out. We have a variety of connectors here that came from e-waste, and we're going to see what the Mighty Mill can do with them, whether it can chew them up enough to liberate all the lovely gold-plated pins in them or not. Sometimes the Mighty Mill does a good job on them, sometimes not so good. In the last video, which I'll put a link to in the upper right over here, we found that it did not do male RJ45 connectors worth a darn, but just about everything else I fed it worked great. And I didn't have enough female RJ45 connectors to really give it a decent test, so today I've got quite a few more. And some of these connectors come courtesy of my friend Ken up in BC, Canada, and some of them are mine. So we've got a variety of stuff here. We've got some edge card connectors. We've got some female RJ45 connectors. We've got some headers here that look like most of them came from parallel ATA hard drives. Lots of little gold pins in them. I am not sure what these are. Actually, you know what? I know what these are. These are for CF cards. Most of these are for CF cards, I believe. They've got a lot of little gold pins on them. And then we got some stuff here. I don't know what it is. Pretty sure these came from Ken. Maybe he can chime in the comments and tell us what these blue ones are. I'll give you a close-up look at all these before we get started so you know what we're dealing with. So here's edge card connectors. These are going to be like off of PC type computers for plugging in expansion cards, whatnot. The female RJ45 connectors that the male ends plug into. Each one of them has 8 little gold pins. These are the mystery connectors that I got from Ken. Don't know what they go to. Don't really recognize them. I can see they have gold pins in them. Ken, if you watch this video, leave a comment telling me where you got them from if you remember. And these are like the connectors from parallel ATA hard drives. Each one has a whole bunch of little gold pins in it. And then these look mostly like CF card connectors, maybe. Possibly. But yeah, a lot of gold pins there. So we'll see what the Mighty Mill can do with these, how well it chews them up and how well it liberates the pins. So I've done a few of these e-waste connector videos in the Mighty Mill now, and what it generally comes down to, whether the Mighty Mill can chew them up or not, is how hard the plastic is. If the plastic is really soft and ductile, the Mighty Mill has a lot of trouble with it. If the plastic is hard and can shatter under the impact of the hammers in there, well, the Mighty Mill has no trouble with them at all. It just chews them right up. So we'll see. I think we'll start with these hard drive PATA connectors, and we'll see how it does with them. Alright, so let's get a few in here. I'm not going to overload it too much because these are pretty long and they're going to kind of want to jam up in there. So let's see what happens here. Well, doesn't sound like the Mighty Mill had any real trouble with them. Nope. Okay. So it did a pretty good job on them, but there's one here that needs to go in for another treatment. So we'll put that back in and we'll put in a few more. And see what we get. Run it a little longer, see if I can get them all chewed up. Well, what if that's the same one? It still looks like it needs to be chewed up a little more. Interesting that it's not processing that one. one more load after this. See how that did. That worked pretty well. I don't see any need to go in for further processing that time. Well, let's get the last couple done. Couple 3. That's it. Yeah. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. I'll give you a close-up look at what I'm seeing here in the pan. Okay. There's one piece here where the pins didn't quite get knocked out, but I will show you what it all looks like close up. Okay, so here's all of the pulverized plastic and the pins knocked out. Now there's one little piece over here that still has a couple of pins stuck in it. And that may be the same piece I put back in 3 times. That piece is a little tough. It's just not getting the pins knocked out of it. But the rest of this, the pins are really loose, liberated from the plastic, so that's great. Okay. Now, one thing that happens every single time I do one of these videos where I'm smashing up connectors with the Mighty Mill to liberate the pins, and I talk about ways to separate the pins from the plastic, everybody says, just use a magnet. It's simple. As if I would have never thought of that myself, right? Okay. Well, here's a really powerful magnet. Okay, I picked up some of the pins and some bits of steel debris, but it is by no means picking up all of those pins. It's maybe getting half of them, maybe not even half. Maybe closer to a third. The others are just sitting there because they're not steel. They're phosphor bronze. And that's something you're going to run into a lot when you're working with connectors. The pins are not all steel. Sometimes they're bronze. Yeah, a lot of times they are spring steel, and you can pick them up. But a lot of times, nope, they just sit there. Yep. So, yeah, magnet can come in handy to some extent. But to get all of the pins out of this, you're going to have to go to a different separation method. What I might do in the future, once I accumulate enough of this stuff, I might just set up one of my sluice boxes and run all this stuff through there. I got a feeling that the plastic will go through the sluice box pretty easy and leave behind the steel pins and the phosphor bronze pins down in the matting, because they're going to be a lot more dense. But yeah, my magnet, it's a powerful magnet, but it ain't picking up all them pins, only some of them. We'll check some of the other connectors too as we go along and see. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are entirely bronze. Okay, let's do these pins that came from, I think, CF card connectors. That's certainly what they look like. There's not a lot of material here, but boy, each one has a lot of pins in it, so I want to load this down fairly heavily and see how it does. Again, the Mighty Mill had no trouble. Didn't bog down. Oh, there's a lot of little gold pins in here. And again, though, I see some pieces that didn't quite get fully processed. Didn't get all the plastic didn't quite get totally smashed to smithereens and liberate all the pins. So we'll put these pieces back in. Maybe run it for a little while longer next time. Guess that's about it. Yeah, there's one. There's another one. Alright, and again, Once we're done here, I'll give you a close-up look at this stuff. And we'll try the magnet on it. See, not all these come from the same manufacturers. They don't all use the same materials. I can tell we got several different types of plastic here because the colors are different. Let's see, running it a little longer that time, it looks like we got it all smashed up pretty good. Some balls of solder in there. Is that solder? No, that's plastic. That's just lighter colored plastic. Okay, there's one or two pieces here that really need to have another treatment. So these small connectors, they're giving the Mighty Mill a little bit of trouble. If we've liberated most of the pins, but not all of them. I mean, just by trouble, I mean just a little bit. I mean, 99.9% of them were blasted out of the plastic, but there's a few pieces that weren't. I'll give you a close-up look at this, then I'll try it with a magnet. Yeah, each of those connectors, they were pretty small, and each one had a lot of pins in it, so we got a lot of pins here in the pan. Pretty well liberated now from the plastic. So let's see what a magnet does to them. Okay, let's see what the magnet will do with these pins. Ah! Okay, good news. It looks like the magnet is picking up essentially all of them. Even though they've obviously come from different manufacturers. Possibly, I don't know for sure, the specification for CF card connectors may call for only spring steel connectors, rather than, you know, potentially phosphor bronze or other stuff. Because this is working good. So when the magnet works, it's a beautiful thing. It's when the magnet doesn't work that you've got to figure out an alternate method for separating this stuff. You know, if you've got bronze pins or a mixture of steel and bronze pins, maybe it's time to get the sluice out, you know? Here, I'll give you a look at this. I don't know if it's showing up, but yeah, separated pretty much all of the pins out, the gold-plated pins, out of the plastic. There's still a few I could go after with the magnet again, but got pretty much all of them. So yeah, sometimes the magnet works. Alright. Okay, so here's these blue mystery connectors that I got from Ken. Not sure what they went to. These kind of look like the kind of stuff that could bog down the Mighty Mill. So I'm only going to put in maybe 4 to start with, and we'll see how it goes. That kind of looks like kind of soft plastic. So we shall see. I'd say I had a little bit more trouble with them than the other stuff, but then the others had a lot less plastic in them. These are mostly plastic. Oh, but wow, okay. That actually did a good number on these things. It totally pulverized them and liberated the gold pins. They got big chunky gold pins. We run a few more through here. About the same number. We'll get them all through and I'll show you what this looks like. Sometimes it's the stuff you think it won't handle that it handles really well. And the stuff you think it won't have any trouble with at all, it just bogs down and dies. But this is working good. Let me put these last ones through. And we'll take a look and we'll see if the magnet will separate them. There's a pin sitting right up on top of the grizzly there. Okay. Okay. Wow. Alright, let me give you a close-up look at this stuff. This is interesting. So here it is. Yeah, lots of shattered blue plastic and big chunky gold pins. Looks like we got complete liberation of the gold pins. I have never seen these type of connectors before. No idea what they're from, so I don't know if those pins are magnetic or not. Let's give it a try. Okay, here we go with the magnet. And wah, wah, wah. Nope. Nope. Plastic's kind of sticking to the magnet, but there must be, the plastic must be filled with something magnetic, like maybe, I don't know, magnetite or something. Some magnetic mineral. Because the plastic's sticking to it, but the pins aren't. The pins aren't. These must be bronze pins. Not a single one of them is sticking to the magnet. So we're going to have to use alternative separation methods. Now, speaking of alternative separation methods, you know, I tend to lean towards gravity methods like panning or sluicing. So my friend Ken, he tends to lean towards incineration or pyrolysis. I guess that could work too. Your neighbors might not like it much. Your homeowners association might send you a nasty letter, but you know, if you can get away with it, hey, that might work too. All right, let's move on to the next type of connector. Okay, so let's do some of these edge card connectors. And again, these are really long, and I do have some experience doing these, even longer than this, so I know that the plastic on these is pretty brittle, and the Mighty Mill shouldn't have too much trouble with them. Yeah. I kind of suspected that's the way it was going to go. A little rough at the beginning, but then once the plastic started shattering, because it's fairly brittle plastic, the Mighty Mill just chewed them up. So let's get a few more in there, get these processed, and we'll hit them with the magnet. So the rest of them in, they're small. Oh yeah. I would say we've got complete liberation of the pins from the plastic. I'm not seeing any that are still stuck in the plastic. Let me give you a close-up look. Yep, pretty much complete destruction of the edge card connectors and full liberation of the pins. These pins look like steel. Let's see if they stick to the magnet. Let's see here. Ah, yes, okay. They are sticking. Are they all sticking? Good proportion are. I guess they're pretty much all sticking. Yeah, these kind of look like steel pins, and yeah, I would say they are all steel pins. So good. So that makes separation pretty easy when they're steel. Yep, some types of connectors are easier than others. Yep. Getting quite a pile of pins here. I'll give you a look at the end result. Well, there we are. With just a few seconds work, I've managed to separate the vast majority of the pins from the bulk of the plastic. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing when they're steel. It makes it easy. Alright. Let's try the next batch and see what they are. Alright, last but not least, let's try the female RJ45 connectors. So somebody in a previous video left a comment they wanted to see how RJ45 connectors work in the Mighty Mill. Well, in the last video we saw that the male connectors don't work worth a darn. And I really didn't have enough females handy to give it a fair test. So we'll see. I think I've got enough here. We'll see how the Mighty Mill handles them. It sounded like it did pretty good. Oh yeah, I would say we've got pretty thorough separation of the pins from the plastic. Certainly a whole lot better than what we did with the male connectors. There's some interesting bits and pieces in here. Like there's a little tiny circuit board here. Yeah, I see that some of these have little tiny circuit boards in them. Huh, interesting. Okay. Well, I might as well just put the rest of them in since I don't have that many, and it handled it pretty well. Ah, okay. I was wondering about the yellow one because it was kind of the odd one out. The black plastic seems to smash up pretty nice. The yellow, maybe not so much. Let me put that back in there. Anything else that needs a second trip through? Oh, you know what? Yeah, there's some little torrid inductors in there because I'm seeing lots of little bits of copper wire here. Insulated copper wire. So there's some of these had magnetics in them. So I'll have to take the Mighty Mill apart when I'm done and make sure that the hammer section in there isn't all wound up with enameled copper wire, which tends to happen when you run things like relays or transformers through it, which I don't normally do. Tried it back when I first got the mill, figured out pretty quick, didn't work worth a darn, just made a mess. So, alright, that looks better. Looks like we got pretty complete separation of the pins. I'll give you a close-up look at the debris. So here we are. You can see those long springy pins were totally liberated from the connectors, and again, these look like steel, so I bet the magnet will pick them up without too much trouble. Let's give it a try. Yeah, these pins really look like steel. Oh yeah, they're being picked up. Ah, but we have another problem. Yeah, there were little torrid transformers inside those connectors, and those torrid transformers are made of powdered iron, and that powdered iron, that pressed powdered iron has gotten turned back into powdered iron in the Mighty Mill. And now, yeah, I'm picking up the connectors with the magnet, but I'm picking up a whole lot of other stuff too. Yeah, that's a problem. It's going to be kind of hard to separate the pins from all the other gunk in here, because now it's all full of iron powder. Yeah, alright. So this may be another case where, of course, I don't know, a coarse screen might do a good job of separating out these pins. They're long and kinky, and they'd probably get caught on the top of the screen, and a lot of this powdered stuff would probably fall through. So there's multiple ways you can separate this stuff. So what do we learn today? Well, we've learned that the Mighty Mill can handle a wide variety of connectors. pretty much everything I threw at it today, it had no trouble shredding into little tiny pieces and liberating all of the pins from it. But we also learned that magnets, you know, aren't always the best tool for the job. People always say, just use a magnet, it'll be easy. Well, sometimes it's not that easy. You know, sometimes the magnet picks up a lot more than you want it to. And sometimes the magnet doesn't pick up the stuff you want it to. So yeah. So those of you who are always hollering at me, use a magnet, well, there you go. On these two connectors, it really didn't help us at all, you know. On those funky blue ones of Ken's, those are obviously bronze pins. And here we've got so much other magnetic debris in here that, you know, the pins are going to be kind of lost in it, even though they're pulling out with the magnet too. With the other connectors, well, it's kind of a mixed bag. We had a couple types where the magnet pulled out all the pins without too much trouble, and one was kind of 50-50, steel and bronze. So, yeah, it's hit or miss with a magnet. So that's what we learned. So remember that in the future, before you reach for your keyboard to leave me a comment about just use a magnet. It's easy. It's not that easy. And anyway, I hope you found this video interesting, educational, informative, inspirational, whatever. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to see my future videos. There'll be more Mighty Mill videos, including we'll probably be crushing some more gold ore in it. And maybe we'll run some other types of e-waste through it too. Plus also got the Smash-O-Matic for that. And I've got some other projects in the works. So subscribe to see those future videos. Check out my second channel, ElectroGeek64, if you're at all interested in electronics or retro computing. There's good stuff going on there. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching this one. Bye.